Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome, everybody. See, lots of people in today. Leah Smith, Michael Fontaine, Aura 1. The fourth side of 3 is 1. Flor Candia, Preliminal. Captain Kirk, Total Time Traveler there. Heart's Truth, John Bernard Shaw. Adam Ant. You guys are chit-chatting. Nano Arts Net. Got some new people in here. Shari D, of course. Jumping Ship, Pugsley's Lovejoy. Oliver Henry. JoJo's, hey, how you doing? Consciousness of Steel, Neil Bog Lort. Kyla Zachary, Phil Cantu, Biker Babe 2009. That's everybody so far. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about, I don't really have any like C virus stuff today. Maybe some of you will be happy I'm not talking about it for change. But I'm just going to talk about like this and that for just a few minutes. One is this December 21st, Great Jupiter Saturn conjunction. I'm not an astrologer, so I can't really do anything other than repeat what other people are saying. But I don't know if you guys have noticed, but like every 5 minutes, there's some new giant astrological thing anymore. And eclipses have become old news, and there's like 6 per year anymore. Not in my old timeline, but so we're coming up on another one of these giant things that's supposed to predict stuff. Everybody's predicting different things for this thing, but it seems like the main subject is that it has to do with like finances. It has to do with the planets involved, and some people are predicting change. Other people are predicting troubles. Supposed to go through sometime in April. One location I even saw was saying, oh, all these planets right next to each other are going to look like the Star of Bethlehem, even. Others are saying this is the true dawning of the age of Aquarius. I don't know, and we've definitely seen a lot of these come and go, and things do seem to change, but not like, just like on that day or anything. But, so we got another one coming up on the 21st. Might want to check into it. The Great Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. Supposed to happen only once every 30 years. I don't know. It's you can read it all yourself because it's just kind of a lot of astrological stuff, and it doesn't really mean anything to me unless you're really into astrology. But interesting. Okay, this is another one that's way less pleasant. It's not a Mandela because it's new. I heard about this one from somebody on a chat room that I go to. Miss DIY, you know who you are. I don't know if I have permission to use your names, so I'm not gonna. But it's been making the rounds apparently. It's totally just absolutely weird. It's called mouth cooking. So basically, this woman uses her mouth instead of forks and knives and stuff. She uses her mouth to cut up everything, and she even sloshes the stuff around in her mouth, and then she spits it out, and then she cooks it, and that's how she's. And it's like a comedy show because she takes it like she's like the straight man, she's all serious. This is how. And then she's doing this gross, disgusting thing that nobody likes. And apparently there's a bunch of videos with this on YouTube, and I just couldn't quite bring myself to watch them for long. The reason I put this on here is because this is so bizarre, and I'm just curious if we're going to see more weird stuff like this, like maybe in the animal kingdom. I don't know. I'm not sure, but a lot of times when some freaky, bizarre meme spreads across the land, like 6 months later, there'll be something that's not quite that extreme, but you can see the echoes of it in this. So, I just thought I would bring it up. Besides, it's just kind of interesting and a kind of bizarre kind of freaky Florida, Japan style way. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but watch with caution. It's gross. At the same time, no one was able to predict the sea in 2020. Well, see, the astrology doesn't say, okay, there's going to be a virus. It'll say, okay, there's going to be economic upheaval and change. It's not that specific. I think the basic concepts behind it are that there's like a general energy, according to the planets, and how that energy is going to manifest may vary. But also, if you're constantly shifting timelines and where the planets are and their orbits are constantly shifting, it's not going to predict crap, because you'd have to stay in that timeline with those planets doing as predicted in order to see that outcome. So for me, it's sort of like it almost means nothing to me if I don't stay in there long enough. Eva, we're in the freak show front row for sure. Yeah. Sandman says he saw something like that a couple years ago. I don't want to be in the timeline where mouth cooking is popular. Oh my goodness. So, we've always done it. We've always done mouth cooking. Oh my God. Don't say it. Don't say it. Okay. So this one comes from Mark Tyus. He was talking about North Atlantic right whales. One of them washed up on shore or something. So I've just looked at these things because I do remember there being a right whale that was endangered. I don't remember them having multiple species of them. They only had one. They were very rare. But now there's only 400 left of the North Atlantic right whale versus all of them. But what's really weird is they're just freaky looking. They look like they're upside down. They used to just be very normal looking whales. I know I cover the whales a lot, but every time I look at a new one, I'm like, what the F? So let me look at the mouth on this thing. It's just weird. I'm going to pull up some more. They really look like they're upside down to me. When I see them, I'm like, you put that one upside down. See how the mouth is like that? So this is a right side up whale here. Their hingy mouth parts are like at the top. I haven't been watching these, and they've obviously gotten really strange since I last checked them. There's another one. See, doesn't it look like it's upside down? The eye is down there. It's an upside down whale. It needs to flip over. Like I would have seen that and not remembered it because it's completely ridiculous. There's another one. I don't know. Do you guys remember whales like that for long? Maybe the last few years. I'm not sure when it turned all crazy like that. There's another one. The right whales are the wrong way up. That is my opinion. Looks like they've really kind of gone overboard with the amount of barnacles and stuff they can collect now, too. They used to just have little ones, but now they've got these giant white lesionous blobs all over them. They're like calcified. Okay, so here's one. See, this one is right side up, believe it or not. Right whales could become extinct. Okay, so no, I don't think they will because they're brand new. This one is also right side up. Anyway, so pretty weird. Normal right whale. Never seen any whale like this before. Yep. So there's like 4 kinds of right whale now. They all look wrong to me, but 1,100 whales just died on the shores of Australia. Those mass deaths are very common in this timeline. Yeah, when I first started hearing about those, they're like, oh my God, 13 whales died. That's so weird. And now it's like 100 and nobody bats an eye. Okay, so now the thumbnail one. I actually don't have a ton of stuff today because I don't have a lot of world news. So this might be a little bit of a short show unless you guys contribute a lot. So this one, a lot of people sent me this, and I've seen it in a bunch of places, but it was my friend PJ online that first sent me this. So apparently the story now is that reindeer eyes turn blue in winter. So normally they're like goldy brown color, and then they turn that really bright blue in the winter. And the story is that it's dark in the winter, and the blue back of their eyes then reflects less light, which at first I felt very confusing because I was always told that that reflective part behind the eyes in animals was so that when light would bounce off, and then the retina would have a second shot at detecting the light, so it would improve vision. Basically, it was like a enhancement of the light waves. So you would think that you would have more reflection in the winter instead of less. So I thought it was really strange that that it would be like that, that it would actually be less reflection in the winter with the blue eyes. But they're saying, oh, well, it causes them to scatter more and hit more parts of the retina, like the light waves, the photons. And so that would improve vision, which kind of somewhat contradicts what I used to hear all the time, but it's like, whatever. It's another crazy Mandela. The other thing is, I was looking at this photo here. I'm like, what's that thing on his head? Okay, so you've got the normal antlers, right? I do think that they've gotten a little more extreme than I remember. But what's this thing? What are these little funky fringes or something on here? I'm gonna look up and see if I can find any more creatures with funky fringes. Okay, so this is like the creationist newsletter. So they're complaining about how it's always been a thing where the creationists are like, how can eyes just, evolve? Because they always had kind of a good point on that. But I'm like, well, evolution's the best, most logical thing I could think. Until the Mandela came along. Now I'm like, I find myself reading that creationist stuff with a bit more sympathy now. That stuff can just magically show up. So there's the winter eye and the summer eye. Actually, I just picked these guys because they don't make me pay to see their article. And they had some kind of a short, decent images. But so I'm going to just look at reindeer real quick because first of all, I want to see if I see any more with that funky stuff on the head. Also, I was looking at the coloration earlier, and I do feel that they're starting to alter. So, reindeer for me used to just be kind of your garden variety gray, boring guys. Now they've got this cute little tuft of fur on their neck, and they're starting to get. They have 2 color seasons now, so they're getting this kind of a neat black here. I do think these funny shovel things are basically what they were showing in that other image, but I don't remember the antlers having these originally. They just had normal looking antlers. They didn't have these funny center shovels and stuff. They don't all have it, but I don't remember any of them having it. That looks a lot more like elk. I do remember the elk having some pretty bizarre antlers, but it seems like the reindeer have been growing some strange stuff. See much more complicated, weird stuff in the front. Okay, so here we got another one. Guy's not very big. Okay, here's some. See the colorations on these things? They're getting like this white body and this kind of stripy thing. Of course, we've got to have some albino ones because those always have to be around. Everything's albino now. See if I can. There was some neat ones I saw earlier. That's, I think, the same batch as those other ones. Okay, you can see it on here. They're getting this white, like weird black patterns on the bottom and white in the sides and stuff. So it's not really extreme compared to a lot of the other changes we've had. There's a really neat one. But it's not what they were. It's interesting. I'm not seeing a lot with those weird shovel antler things, but that drawing had it. I wonder why. And wow, look at the antlers on that guy. Very neat. I'm like, I almost wanted to say that's not real. I can't tell. So yeah, some people don't even remember antler reindeer being real like 20 years ago. I am very suspicious about that as well. Look at that guy, so cute. See, they just weren't that cool looking. Sorry, they were kind of scruffy and mad looking before. Look at that guy. Yeah, I already had him on. The moose are getting jealous. Yeah. The moose are getting like huge now. I mean, they were always big, but it's getting ridiculous. Does anybody feel the high frequency? I think for the last few days, I think we're just slowly getting cranked up bit by bit by bit. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Um, I've been doing things like the DMSO and the anti-inflammatories, and I've been doing some fasting and stuff just because it's gotten so easy to gain weight now. It's getting really hard to lose weight without just skipping. Strangely, I don't feel bad if I skip food for 2 days too, which is weird. I mean, I feel hungry, but I don't feel tired. My muscles are perfectly fine. I don't feel weak. So, all of those things might be kind of complicating things for me, noticing some of the shifty things. When I don't eat dinner, I definitely sleep lighter. I don't need as much sleep. So then, but I sleep pretty good, but I sleep less hours. Then the next night, if I eat, then I'm like for a million hours. It seems like eating is making me really sleepy. My cat is going to turn albino. He's actually getting darker and darker, my little kitty. He used to be a mute tabby, but his the light stripes are filling in, so he's gotten all mousy brown on his back, and his sides are like half brown. And then his underside is getting really light, so he's becoming like a Oreo or something. Um, Lately, I've noticed that right along here, he's getting really darker coloration in there, and he's grown a bunch of beautiful white eyeliner, and all of his type has changed in the same way. So I don't know. I guess it's just mute tabbies are different here. Yeah, when I fast, I drink water. I don't skip water, but I actually do feel hungry when I fast, but I feel hungry when I don't fast too, so I'm not sure if it really matters. At least I can lose some weight if I'm going to feel hungry anyways, because I'll eat and then I'll feel hungry in a couple hours, and then it's weird because then I'll finally get around to the restaurant and then I won't feel hungry. I'm like, what? You're just messing with me. All right, so I got that one. Now this one's been on here before, but I swear they've gotten more weird. I'm just looking at this because it says warp around spiders. I'm like, that better not be it, because last I checked, they were wrap around spiders, not warp around spiders. They've gotten more extreme now, these wraparound spiders, where they're even harder to see. They're flatter. So this is a spider. See his little eyes. This is really gross because these are on branches and you're not going to see them. If you grab this branch and you're not really careful, you're just going to grab a gross spider. There seems like there's a lot more kinds of these. See, there's one here. This is, the I guess, the body, and then the feet are all in here. So I've seen these before, but I don't think they were this flat before. Also, we have a new thing, which is twig spiders. And I saw both of these from the user on Retcon called Will Work for Answers. So now we've got these twig spiders, because wraparound spiders weren't gross enough. Now, I've seen twig insects before, but never twig spiders. So this is a twig spider. Oh, yay. I have to say I'm not thrilled with these new icky things. Here's another one. I noticed in this timeline there's lots of different colors of everything. Used to be there would just be one species, one color. But here there'd be one species and there's brown ones and green ones, and because it's not complicated enough. There's another twig spider. So apparently some of these, like this guy, he stretches out all of his legs together to look like a twig. This one does. So all the legs are all folded onto the body, and then they have the stick body. So that's a twig spider. Because that's what we really need in this world, is spiders that you can't see all over the place. Ugh. But you know I gotta have, what the heck is that? Okay, I don't think that's spiders. I think it's just twigs. It's hard to tell. Okay. So yeah, I know you love it when I have spiders on, so there you go. Does anybody remember K1 kerosene? It literally just flipped to 1K. I don't know that one. Sorry. I'm not helpful on that one. I don't want to fast. I just go with what my body tells me, and it told me I don't need food. I don't know. See, I'm all messed up because I feel hungry like all the time, but then I just gain weight, and I really don't need to gain weight. Well, let me just say it this way. If I eat every time I'm hungry, then I will gain weight really fast. Like really fast. And it definitely is like 3 times worse than it ever was. My cat has the most amazing white eyebrows now, like this layer of long fur. Interesting. Mine has grown like this eyeliner all the way around his eyes. So he's got the black inner liner and then a white liner just outside of there. So it's pretty cool looking. We can go sometime without eating, plus I think it would help our body's immunity. I do feel better. I feel a lot better after I fast. I feel fine during fasting, except for I feel hungry on and off. But like I said, I feel hungry on and off even if I eat. So it's not a huge difference. I think that in the old timelines, I probably would feel weak after fasting for like 2 days. But it seems like, because I'm looking at my body, I'm like, well, if I feel weak or sick or something, then I'll stop. But I don't. So the brain doesn't differentiate between thirst and hunger. So half the time you think you're hungry, you're actually thirsty. Now, I tried that. Believe me, I'll drink and then I'll stop for like 2 minutes and then I'll be hungry again. And I really do think that my brain is perfectly capable of differentiating between thirst and hunger. I've never noticed any. That drink water when you're hungry is like an old diet trick, and it only helps for a very short period, unfortunately. At least for me. I mean, it may work for other people. Your mileage may vary. Organic apple cider vinegar. Um, I guess I could try it. I actually did do the vinegar things a few times in the past. I really didn't notice anything other than it tastes absolutely hideous. Okay, so the pyramids, we know how often those like to change. So, I don't remember the Menkaure pyramid having this giant hole in it. Certainly not one as big as it is now. I do remember the Great Pyramid had a hole in it. So Menkaure now, it's one of the three. So if you go way back, um, a lot of us remember the Great Pyramid, like the big one being in the middle. But now there's two big ones and a small one. And actually, the small one doesn't even look that small. I better check again. And the Menkaure one has this giant freaking hole in it now. I swear the pyramids are just cracking up. They're all scrabbly. This one has a huge hole in it. The other one has I don't remember what this is going on over here, where these one row of better looking pieces. Look, they look like rubble piles more now than they ever did. There's another image of it. Yeah, I don't know what the heck. So apparently these happened when they were trying to break into it. Just look at how long that is. That's crazy. I'm kind of shocked. So let's see, who brought that one up? It was Will Work for Answers brought this one up again. Will Work for Answers finds a lot of stuff on Retconned. Or, well, he finds it and posts it on Retconned, I should say. Or she. Don't want to make the mistake that everybody is a male on Reddit, because that's not accurate. Okay, so we still do have two big ones and a kind of little one. And then those three little ones, and then somewhere over there, I think, is another round of three little ones. Look at how close the Sphinx is now. That's insane. It was never right there like that. I'm going to have to see what these are. Okay, so there's the little bitty row, and then somewhere there's another little bitty row over on this end. I'm not sure what all these little things are. Oh, I don't really remember this stuff either. A lot of stuff's growing over there. And, you know, from the angles, it's hard to keep track of them all. This thing has shown up on some images and then gone. I don't think it's in all images. Maybe they put it there either recently or temporarily. I'm not sure. I should probably check that. All right, so so the other great one, the other one with the hole, let me see if I can find that one. Here. This hole, it still looks a little different than I remember. Actually a little smaller, but that's the other hole that I remember the first time, which was also supposedly created when they were trying to dig into it. Also, this is a new thing for me on the Great Pyramid. There's like a notch that's out. Let me just click on that and see what they're saying that is. There's a notch that's out on the side of the Great Pyramid, which is new for me. Author contemplates the notch on the northeast edge of the Great Pyramid of Giza. A chamber beyond the hole in the wall provides new information on the monument's construction. Construction details suggest this L-shaped chamber dates from the building of the pyramid. Some blocks in it are carved in semi-arches to support the ceiling. The central ceiling block was set in place like a keystone. Mortar extrudes into the chamber from around small blocks, likely put in place from behind the wall by workmen retreating down the ramp. I've never heard of mortar being in any of the pyramids, so that's a new one. So I guess this is the room. Anyway, so that's totally new for me. I've never seen this notch thing. Let's take a quick gander at see what's going on here. So I've mentioned before, I don't remember, this is an older ME, but I don't remember any of the tunnels going below ground level. They do now. They used to just be up into the pyramid only. Hidden chamber. I'm really suspicious that a lot of this keeps shifting, but I just didn't know it well enough. It just doesn't look familiar from my old images that I remember, but I can't really say exactly how. I think it was more vertical before without all this sideways stuff. All right, let's look at the Sphinx again. We're on images. Okay, I mentioned last time I don't remember this thing. And the Sphinx looks terrible. I'm not seeing that ramp, so it must have been a temp one. The notch looks a little less rectangle than I remember it. That ear notch. A lot of people don't remember the ears originally. This looks like there's more damage on the head now, too. All this wall buildup here, and I don't remember that, and I don't remember this. This is interesting here. Looks like there's some kind of like walkway thing here made out of stone. I don't remember anything being that close to it. Not with little, and it looks like it has little upright posts. I don't remember any upright posts. A flat thing, yes, but yeah, no, a lot of this I just don't recognize. Okay, there's the ramp thing again. New Sphinx uncovered in Egypt. Looks like it's tiny. See, look at that image. I never saw the Sphinx with the pyramids behind like that until just recently. I think that it's getting closer and closer. Look at that. That's just a no. It's a no, dog. One thing I've noticed about these images is you'll just find like you couldn't find any images from this angle for the longest time until these pyramids sneak up in here, and then suddenly there's a bunch of images from this angle. So it's like the images that'll show what's brewing are kind of hidden to you, and then suddenly it's done. Look at how cobbled up these paws are now. Thing is like It's in terrible shape, poor guy. All right, so anyways, some changes on there. Okay, map keeps changing. Yep. Mona Lisa, for me, had an enigmatic smile, which meant that she kind of didn't look like she was smiling, but if you looked at her out of the corner of her eye, she did look like she was smiling. It wasn't clear. Now she clearly smiles, last I checked. I wonder if people came from a no-smile world. For me, it was an enigmatic smile world. They're still digging around the pyramids. Well, I don't know. It looked like that was an old discovery, though. That's the thing. That's why I think it's a Mandela. The pyramids are now surrounded by a large cemetery. Yeah, they're just newer, just like new old stuff just keeps showing up. Little bit by little, like just pile of cobbles, then it's a half done pyramid, then it's a 3/4 done pyramid. There's one pyramid type mountain. There was one in Mexico that was covered with dirt. They said it was the world's largest pyramid. For a while, they said it was the world's largest pyramid, and then I think then they switched it to be, well, Mandela changed it to be the world's like widest pyramid or something, and it wasn't the world's largest anymore. Something like that. God, my voice is real deep today. I think it's because I took a big old nap before I started the show. There's the new one at the excavated that leads to the under pyramid chambers, proving that the pyramids are actually rhombus diamonds. Okay, maybe can you give me some more keywords so I can Google that one? King Tut's was all fake. How can wood furniture last hundreds of years? You know, in my old timeline, they wouldn't, but, you know, they even have wood stuff under the, like, under lakes lasting hundreds of years now, and that never would have happened. They would all rot away. But you even like old boats that were made out of wood, old ships in the sea are hundreds of years old, and they're still freaking down there. So it's possible in this timeline, apparently. Stuff doesn't rot. Ears were broken off in my reality. My reality didn't have any ears, so we were all like, there's ears. What was that, like a year ago or something? 2 years ago when we noticed there was ears. Have you heard of the hole on top of the Sphinx's head? Yeah, I covered that one like a year ago. I saw it in some old photos that there was like this hole. There's images with there was a hole and then they like filled it. It's just bizarre. It wasn't in my old timeline. This is all new information last decade, so they've been keeping it all quite secret. Well, that's the story, that it was all secret and uncovered, but I mean, we saw millions of photos of the Sphinx and it didn't have ears. So they weren't hiding it. I mean, people went there and they saw it and it didn't have ears. So you're assuming that all of the new stuff that's not ears is just hidden. I assert that it is Mandela's. It was never there. And because people don't want to accept the Mandela because it's too freaky, it's a lot easier for them to say it was all hidden. But I don't think so. I don't think it was there. Because if they kept it all hidden, why is it all out now? Why do they just keep it hidden longer? I mean, if I kept something hidden 100 years, I'm not going to, year 101, suddenly just, let's let them all know that I was hiding this for 100 years. No, you just keep hiding it. There's no reason for them to let it all out now after all this time. I mean, you're just going to go on Google and all the photos are right there. They're not going to, if they were hiding it 100 years, they're not putting it on Google now. I mean, why is it out there? It's not like somebody broke the story. It showed up on Google. Okay, Space Shuttle Endeavour. How do you spell it? Because for me it changed. Endeavour. Space Shuttle Endeavour. I mean, don't get me started on all the change on the space shuttles, but beyond all the changes and that it has a black bottom and all this other stuff, I don't remember how it is currently spelled. Bunch of spelling changes. The other one is what was that girl's name? Megan. Um, yeah, that's it. Megan Three Stallion. That's her name. Okay. I had never heard of her until like a month ago, and then suddenly everywhere is Megan Three Stallion. And for like, 3 weeks, I'm like, oh, this woman must be getting really popular in a very short period of time because she was on all the time. Oh, then I looked at it yesterday and I'm like, oh, they spelled her name wrong. I'm like, wait a minute, better check that. So for me, she was Megan Three Stallion. And when I first heard of her, I very, very carefully checked her name because I'm like, well, why does she have a Native American name? Is that really her name? Yes, it is. I looked at it very carefully. But yesterday she became Megan Thee Stallion, Thee Stallion. And it wasn't Three Stallion anymore. So I was pretty surprised about that. For 3 weeks or so, she was Three Stallion. And now she's Thee Stallion. Last time I Googled this, wait a minute, let's see if I can find it. There was some residual. And the residual was that, you know how Google sometimes puts a question and answer thing? And there was a question, why did Megan, and it had the 3, which for you would be like this, it had the 3 as a numeral instead of written out. Why did Megan Three Stallion get injured or something? It was, and then the answer was such and such. It talked about how she got shot or something. But so there was residual last I checked this, which was like yesterday. I'm not seeing it now. Let me see if I can find it using the numeral though. Interesting, because I type it in and there's a whole bunch of suggestions for Megan 3, but songs, blah, 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 blah. So I guess you could argue that a whole bunch of other people got confused too, but I actually really looked at it because I thought it was strange that she had a Native American name because she didn't really look Native. I mean, certainly you never know what blood someone's carrying just by looks, but I swear that her name has changed. All right, so back to the Endeavor thing. Yeah, she's kind of this new one, but I just kept seeing it everywhere. So she's just like some new singer that she's not new, but she's gotten really popular lately. Okay, Boiling Frobs remembers Three Stallion. But yeah, she's The Stallion too. So I don't know why her name wouldn't just be Megan Stallion now. What's the point with the? It made sense if she was Three Stallion because it would be like this Native American thing. I kind of regret that I didn't dig up and see why she was named that, but there's only so many hours in the day and they're getting shorter all the time. In the desert, how could it last for hundreds of years in the desert? Come on, dry. You're talking about wood. But that was the thing, that it was dry, so there were no bugs or anything to eat the wood. That was used to be the argument, that stuff in the desert would mummify and not get eaten up. And it was the wet stuff with all the bugs that would get eaten up. That's why I'm like, how in the heck is all this wood surviving underwater? Anyway, that was the thing in my timeline, that the dry was what would preserve things, because it would just desiccate it. It couldn't rot. You can't get mold. There's no insects because it's too freaking dry. Yeah, I think there's supposed to be isn't there supposed to be a UFO in the Mona Lisa now too? I think I heard about that like 2 years ago. There's like a UFO and everything now. Maybe that was the Da Vinci one. That was it. Oh, okay. I'm not seeing it, so I don't know. I thought I just saw that yesterday, though. That's kind of weird, actually. That's not the one, though. But yeah, there's a lot of UFOs in a lot of the old art now. That's funny you said that because I thought I just read that like a few days ago or yesterday. I come from a world where it was the world's famous frowning Mona Lisa. Funny thing is, people remember saying frowning Mona Lisa. Really, I have never heard of it. I won't argue with you because I've definitely seen enough Mandelas, but it was the enigmatic smile Mona Lisa for me. Maybe that's an indicator of timelines. What's the famous Mona Lisa saying from your timeline? Okay, so one person does remember Three Stallion. Thank God. She was kind of new, and I'm like, I don't know how many people, especially because most of my listeners are like my age, so we don't really keep up with that stuff. All right, so there's a UFO in the some other old art. I think this is Sistine Chapel stuff. Ooh. This actually is not unlike what I remember. It was smaller. I wonder if this is residual from that timeline. I do remember seeing like some at some point that there was like a tiny little thing in the Mona Lisa. So this has changed just enough, but there's still this UFO, and it was on that side too. Interesting. Here's another one, also showing a Mona Lisa. I mean, UFO in the corner. I wonder if those are residuals. I don't think that was in my original timeline, but I think somewhere I saw one. See, there's somebody's rather not great copy of Mona Lisa with the UFO too. I think we're seeing a bit of so I think I just kind of was in that timeline for a while. Interesting. I don't know if we're going to go back to it, but there's an OK Waylon song where he's mocking Mona Lisa about smiling. James Neal, $5. Oh, and somebody else gave me $10. J. Umlin, $10. Kitty treats, thank you. I'm sure the kitty will appreciate it. I got the kitty a new heated bed, and the kitty is the most spoiled cat in the entire universe, and he hates it when I get a new bed. I don't know if it's the smell, but he always acts like it's poison stink meat on his area. So he's now furious that I got him a new bed. And it'll probably take like a month before he'll get near the bed. Although when it's really cold, he'll slip onto the bed, but he'll look pissed about it. Like he's horrified that he had to sit on it. Can you even imagine cats? They're just... I thought I was stubborn, and maybe that's why I like cats, because they make me look good compared to them. Do you think deniers can see the Emmy, or is it something that certain people cannot actually perceive? Ooh, I think some people can't see it, and other people are just terrified of it. And those are probably more the deniers. Like the whole concept scares the crap out of them. So when something scares someone, sometimes they become the biggest denier in the universe. My cat loves sleeping everywhere but in his own bed. You know, he'll come around. I think the last time I had a bed for him, when he first got in here, I had a cat bed from a previous cat, and then he wasn't crabby about anything when he first showed up, and he slept in it. And then I wanted to get him another one so that we could have one in each house, because there's a little guest house. So I bought him identical. It's the exact same bed from Amazon as the first one, and he's like, "No, I won't sleep in the new one." I'm like, "It's the same freaking bed, cat." He's like, "No, that bed stinks, and I won't sit in it." And it was like a month, and I had to hide like treats all in it like every day. And then after like a month, he's like, "Okay, I'll sit in it." So he just is really weird about his beds. I don't know. I mean, every cat has their thing. I've certainly never had a cat give such a toot before as him, but on beds, but that's his thing. He could be pretty mellow about a lot of stuff, but oh my God, you get a new bed, he's not sitting on that stinky thing. Pugsley Lovejoy says she had a slight smile on only one side. That's interesting. So for me, it was like this optical illusion thing. Like you wouldn't see it head on, but from the corner of your eye, it would look like she was smiling. And so they would talk about his genius for having somehow accomplished this look. Um, and they never really explained exactly why it worked either, but it did. It did look like she was smiling out of the corner of your eye. Her eyes followed you. Yes, that was another thing. You're right. I had forgotten about that. Saved by Grace. Her eyes would follow you. Like it always looked like she was looking at you, even when she wasn't. Like, well, wherever you moved, it would just seem that way. I don't know if that's still still the case. I haven't seen that in a while. That statement. Don't you love it when you try to tell someone about an Emmy and they Google, yeah, and they Google it. Yeah, you can't really. You have to explain the whole concept at first. Um, like if they remember one, like really extremely, then they kind of get it. Like you have to say everybody remembers it like this, but strangely, supposedly it was always like this. But why does everybody remember it the other way? And if they're really obtuse, then they'll just Google it and say, "Well, see, look." And I'm like, "Yes, I know, I already said that." But you kind of have to try to head them off at the pass. But it is definitely hopeless for a lot of people. If you can really smack them on one, sometimes um, that'll get them for a while. But a lot of times they'll think about it for a while and they'll just come up with some kind of excuse. And then some people will just never want to talk to you again. They're just scared, and that just their solution is to lock that memory into a box and put it at the very bottom of the ocean and never think about it ever again. And then other people are like, "Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect me, right? Who cares?" Those are the weirdest ones to me, but so yeah, I don't do it that much anymore. You know, there are a lot of UFOs in old paintings. Why? There really wasn't in my old timeline. There was like one, and then there was like one more. So I don't know. Maybe it'll just help people open their minds to different ideas. Who knows? It seems like everything in the timeline now is, well, not everything, but there's a lot more things to make you go, hmm. A lot more things that kind of don't jive with the official storyline. So maybe it's all there to kind of get people to maybe consider outside the box a little bit more. Okay, so nobody remembers Space Shuttle Endeavour. Okay, what I remember is Space Shuttle Endeavor, which is the proper American spelling. I don't know why suddenly we don't spell it with an American spelling anymore. We spell it with, it's an American NASA Space Shuttle program. We have a U on it. It's Endeavor, OUR. I just, no, I mean, like, I saw that. I'm like, see, there's tons of residual. What is Space Shuttle Endeavor? Where did the Space Shuttle Endeavor do? What space shuttle exploded? all OR here, but it's actually was always OUR, and it was even on the side of the shuttle. And I have said before, I don't remember all this writing and crap on the sides of shuttles because that stuff used to get blasted off by the intense heat of re-entry, and so they didn't scribble stuff all over the side of the shuttle. But it's always been Endeavor, OUR, in this timeline. I think that's really recent because I've covered this black bottom thing that I don't remember. Um, the other thing is it's looking even more like a mask now with this round thing. Somebody had mentioned that last time. I didn't remember these holes in the front either, but now it really looks like the Endeavor's wearing a mask, which is sort of strange. You could see it now here with this thing. And now there's like this strap thing over the top, which I don't remember last time I covered the blackness of the bottom. I don't remember there being a strap over the top of the snout like this. See right here? I think that's new since, like, when did I last covered this? I don't know, a few weeks ago, a month ago. I think these holes are bigger now. So, yeah, this thing just never quits changing, does it? Well, I don't remember that mess either. Right over the Endeavor. This one doesn't have it, though, huh? I just... everything just looks so weird now. All right. Monopoly Man. For old people, it's Lindbergh's Baby. Older people will flip out over the Lindbergh's Baby thing. China left for the moon. They say they're bringing back 4 kilograms of moon dirt back, a lot less than USA brought back. Then they should bring some of the water they say they see now. Yeah, I want to see some of this ice. 4 kilograms, that's what, like 10 pounds? Yeah, Lindbergh's Baby was never found in most people's timelines. I really don't know anybody who remembers Lindbergh's Baby being found. That's actually a pretty strange one. Grandpa Simpson claimed to be lost Lindbergh baby. Yeah, the joke makes no sense at all if the baby was found dead a couple weeks later. That's actually one of the strongest Mandelas for people of that era because I just don't know anyone yet who said, oh, yeah, Lindbergh's baby was found. Hors d'oeuvres. Hors d'oeuvres has always been a real stinker of a spelling. Let me see if I still remember it. I remember it as hors d'oeuvre. Hors d'oeuvre. I'm a little bit weak on that last part, though. But yeah, I think that's still the same for me. At least for the last 10 years, it's been hors d'oeuvre for hors d'oeuvres. Ah, yes. Okay, so you guys remember OR. There's really no reason for a U to be in there. It's a NASA space program. Why on earth would they put in a European spelling? Chanty Moody's in. Welcome. HV. Boiling Frogs, I think you are new. James Neal. Jonar Games. Lots of people showing up. Eric Kroos. Heart's Truth. Stahl Hansen. Don't ask me that spelling, the pronunciation of that A, please. I probably won't be able to get it. Ghost User. Have you seen anyone completely flip-flop as individuals like they are entirely different now? The concept of NPC is getting closer to status quo. Do you know any pod people? Okay, I'm going to just clarify because there's often confusion about the term NPC. Different people use it as a different meaning. Some people use NPC as a word for people who just did not wake up, like they don't see the Mandela. They'll deny it, they'll have excuses for it. Like, could be your brother or your mom or your neighbor or whatever. I don't use NPC for that, for those people, because I use it like Dolores Cannon used it, and she used it as a term for people who are temporary. They're just background people. They are not. They don't have a life beyond when you see them. So you'll see. Maybe you'll go to the store and there'll be people walking around that you don't know. Most of the time, you never talk to them. And her belief that she said was that a lot of those people, maybe not every one of them, but a lot of them are just there as part of the storyline that you live in a busy city. They're not really humans. They don't exist beyond when you leave the store. They're sort of like matrix creations or holograms or whatever. That was her definition, more of the NPC background people thing. So I tend to use that term, like they're not real. People who are just stubborn and don't believe in weird stuff and don't believe in the Mandela and don't want to admit certain observations. I don't call those NPCs. So if I go to the store and I meet someone and they are kind of suck at being human, that's kind of how I say it. Because according to Dolores Cannon, these NPCs can talk, they have a certain consciousness, but they're not normally humans. So they will say weird stuff that doesn't quite fit or do like weird things. If you ask them questions, their answers may not really make sense because they're just, they're actors. They're not really humans. They're just trying to act like it. Okay, so I wouldn't say for sure, but I do suspect that does happen because I've just seen too many weird things now that I'm looking for it. So, who knows? Maybe in the past there were a lot more humans. I don't know what's going on, but things are just getting weird. And when you encounter people on the streets, they don't make sense. And I don't know if they're just humans who have shifted so much that their brain is toast, or they can't deal with the current energies and their brain is gone, or if they're NPCs. But all I know is people just don't make sense. A lot of them don't make sense anymore. People appear empty, cannot actually communicate properly. Pod people. Yeah, I don't know for sure what it is. I don't want to like decide for sure because I don't think there's enough data, but maybe we're fewer than we think. Yeah, it could be. I don't know. Everything is totally weird. I just, it's just like the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. Let's bring it back. Pickleball. Are we talking about pickleball now? Non-player character. Yeah. See, I take it very literally. They're literally a non-player character. They're not a character that's dumb. They're not a character that's isn't with it. They're actually not really even there once you move past that part of the game. There's no major human consciousness behind there. There must be some kind of consciousness, otherwise they wouldn't be able to do even that much, but is everyone else's in my family remembers things the way I remember, except my brother, for example. Does that mean he is not my brother from my pre-shift? Who is this new person pretending to be him? Okay, what we think is happening is that there's different timelines and there's a version of you in every timeline. So if you shift timelines, there's going to be versions of your brother in each timeline, but they're each going to be a little different. So it wouldn't be like he's not pretending to be your brother. This is what we think. This is what the data seems to indicate. So we don't think it's, he's not like a fake guy. He's just a brother. Like if your same brother had slightly different life experiences and turned out maybe a little different or have different memories. So that would be still basically your brother, but just a little different. Sometimes they're more different, like their personality. Maybe they had some events in their life that really changed their personality that didn't happen in the other timeline. It does seem like certain people are very stable across timelines. Um, I seem to be one of those people that people say I've shifted and I have different memories, but I'm still pretty much the same as far as personality. And I know certain people are like that. They're pretty much the same. Others people seem to have quite a bit of variation, but he's not like fake. We just say it's another version. As best I can tell, that's what's going on. So it's kind of freaky because you're like, who are you? But he's still basically the same guy. It just he had a different history than maybe a little bit different. That's what we think anyway. So he wouldn't be an NPC if he has different memories. And from his perspective, you have different memories and you all changed. So then he might be looking at you the same way, like, what? Of course, most people don't believe in the Mandela, so they just think you're like, why you have such a crappy memory and are you saying stupid crap? That's probably what they're thinking. I can't imagine how many fights there are in families over this stuff because it seems like most families no longer agree on what happened in the past. Different members of the family will have different memories. And since I know about the Mandela, when that happens, I'm just like, okay, whatever you say, in my mind, I'm going, nah, but that may be their legitimate reality. So I don't argue with people. But if I didn't know about the Mandela, I'd be like, you're wrong. That's not what happened, idiot, So there's probably so many fights. And then if somebody does that, you're probably wondering if they're gaslighting you. Say they did something bad in one timeline and not another. And they're like, I never did that. You're like, don't lie. You did that. Well, they may not have actually done that in this timeline. They may have no recollection of that. I mean, maybe it was something they thought about doing but didn't do in this timeline and picked a better choice. So then they're going to be mad if you're yelling at them. It's very complicated now. I have the feeling people who will take the vaccines are the one we see changed. I don't know though, because then a lot of people said my username changed, and I saw other people's user. I don't think I'm taking it. I'm like, I guess we don't know the future if they hold me down and stick the needle in my arm, but I'm not in a position to have to take it because I don't work for other people or anything. So. But they don't just have alternate memories. They literally cannot receive new information. Like literally they follow a hive mind, a bizarre script, and accept no new info. I think there's a lot of things going on. I do think there's sort of the logic mind has gotten weakened. I've discussed before that there's a very different structure in the brain now. It's a lot more specialized. It may be more your whole processing of your brain is probably different now. Everybody's, and it's probably affecting some people more than others. I like to think that we will get used to this new brain and maybe get better at using it. But I definitely notice that people are just having more trouble seeing the obvious. Ooh, somebody gave me $20. Dun, 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 dun. I don't know where though. Maybe it's down here. There it is. Leah Smith, thank you so much. Appreciate it. It's your first live. Welcome. Okay, so where was I? So that might account for some of the behavior we're seeing. Is just the brain operates different here, and I don't know if that's going to improve or not. I like to think it will. I really don't know though. Try to be patient though. I've said before, I have even noticed myself that I have a lot more trouble using my logic brain than I used to. I sometimes just feel like I had to smack my head to like get it online because it just used to be easier. It's way easier to space out. I lose track of time. I used to have a really good sense of what time it was, and like I'd be like, okay, an hour. It feels like an hour's passed, and an hour has passed. That's all gone now, so it's kind of it's very disconcerting not to have that anymore. I think it's the new brain or something, or the new hive mind or whatever. I don't know, but um, maybe because of my logic mind was always strong, that even in its weakened state, it still functions versus other people. I traveled out of body across USA visit dying great grandma, and she said I visited her. She was in NC and I was in California, so I know it happened. So yeah, I think it's possible, definitely. Um, she would have to remember, and I think that's the real thing is when you do that spiritual stuff, the other person has to have recall of the event, and that is the rare part. They literally cannot receive new information. I think what's happening is that people have gotten very stubborn about changing their opinion. So any information that conflicts with their opinion is blocked much more vigorously than it used to be. Not the name change, the attitude change. Oh, okay. So like the people who change their personality a lot maybe get the vax in the future. Um, that's a tough one. I'm trying to think. I actually don't know anybody that said they'll get the vax. Like everybody I know doesn't want it. Even people who are pretty mainstream historically are like, no, just for mainstream reasons, like that it hasn't been tested very well, um, and there's a lot of suspicious stuff about it, even from a very mainstream perspective. So I'm definitely appreciating how many people are like, no, or just like let's wait 3 years and see, But like my coworker, she's like she will not get it. She's actually terrified that I will force her to get it. I'm like, I'm not going to force anybody to get it. I'm not getting it. Um, so that's really interesting because her of all people I thought would go out and get it. She gets her flu shot every year diligently. She's the kind of person I thought would be getting it. She is worried about the C virus. She does try to be cautious, not going out where there's a lot of people, the whole 9 yards. But she is dead set against getting the shot. So that's interesting. My wife stopped reading a list of wrongs I did before positive things happened. One of my friends is definitely a better person than she was. She's more stable, and she has a different history now. So it's possible, definitely. She said she's not getting the shot, though. I mean, so, she's different, but she says she's not getting it. I guess we don't really know until we see what pressure they put people under. But she's retired. She's not, so there's no boss going to make her get a shot. She doesn't travel that much, so there's not going to be a huge. She's not like a concert goer, so I guess we'll just have to see. They're already talking about the side effects of the C shot. Oh, you're gonna, most people, like they're saying severe side effects in like half the people. They're calling them severe, but they're just saying they're like fatigue and stuff, but they're putting them in the severe category instead of the mild category. And they're like, you're going to feel like you have the flu for a couple days, et cetera, et cetera. Then they're trying to push it off that this is normal. Oh, well, there's side effects from all the vaccines. Well, first of all, I've never experienced an obvious side effect from a vaccine in my life. I don't get them regularly now. I don't get flu shots, but when I was a kid and I got all the old vaccines, I never felt anything other than the prick of the needle. Um, and so the storyline now is bizarre to me, and I don't know. Does regular vaccines really have all those side effects now? It may be. I don't know, but you start reading it, and they're trying to blow it off. Well, you're gonna if you feel really tired and you got a giant headache and you feel really sick for 2 days, then you just know the shot is working. That's the story. Oh, it's working. You feel sick. It's your immune response. It's working. That's how they're trying to spin it now. They forced their doctor to give them the flu shot, and they were all sick at that time. What they were sick when they got the shot? I don't think you're supposed to get the shot when you're sick. My brother is gone, and I don't know this person anymore. Now, I have heard of instances where there's more shifts and you get like another version. Your brother might just be very, like he may have a lot of variety in his timeline versions. My wife is a nurse and it will be mandatory to take the vax. Yeah, I don't know. I was talking to this other nurse person that I kind of know, and she was saying that none of the nurses she knows wants to take it. I mean, are they going to be able to force all these nurses to take it, or is her area not representative? And if you got a bunch of people being really sick for days after the shot, are they going to want to take it? The nurses are going to see that. Once you take the vax, you can never reserve. Well, that's true for everyone, but it's an RNA vaccine, so it's going to alter your RNA, which alters your DNA to some extent, and it'll be permanent. Yes, you can't undo it. I mean, that's true for every vax, but way more for this one because it's a different kind of vax than any other vax that's ever been pushed to market. So something to consider. I got high psychotic after a shot in my youth. Yeah, anyway, I'm not getting it. I think everybody who knows me on here knows I'm not getting it. No, thank you. Especially not in this timeline. 20 years ago, my old timeline, vaccines were just for deadly illnesses, and there were minimal side effects. And I think it was a whole different immune system and a whole different reality than it is here. And there really wasn't much evidence of trouble with vaccines, but there's a ton of it here. It just gets weirder and weirder. So just keep in mind, it's not the old school vax, and we're not in our old school reality anymore. All right. This one was weird. You ever heard about Elvis hiring a hit on the boyfriend of his ex-wife? The whole Elvis story has shifted a lot. I don't know how he didn't get arrested, but somehow. How Elvis Presley wanted a hitman to murder Priscilla's lover. I'm like just laughing. I'm like, all right, are we going to load this thing? I got it open before. So then there's this image of Elvis with his gun, which is kind of bizarre. So the story is that he actually tried to hire a hitman, but then later he changed his mind after people tried to talk him out of it. Trying to find the exact spiel of it here. Okay, here we go. Dang it. No, that's not it. Ah. All right, let me see if I can find it with this. Okay. It later emerged that Elvis had ordered one of his entourage to hire a hitman to blow Stone's head off. So Stone was the boyfriend of the ex-wife. Fortunately, wiser counsel had prevailed. Elvis used to be kind, gentle, and always attentive, but things changed long before our wedding day. I should have realized I was marrying an entourage and only had a share in its leader. It had no end. Anyway, I saw this at other locations, not just Daily Mail, so it seems like it's legit. The other things that there was a bunch of stuff like when I was reading on this. So supposedly, my old timeline, he basically just kind of became a drug addict. But in this timeline, he had an enzyme deficiency and an allergy to codeine and alcohol, and he had emphysema. And then he was diagnosed with Cushing's disease, which caused the face swelling. So I remember that just being from drugs, but in this timeline, it was Cushing's disease, which is excess cortisone. And then he had a lot of damage that caused chronic pain. And he had multiple head traumas in 1967. There was like 3 or 4 of them, which they say caused autoimmune inflammatory disorder. So this is all a new concept for me, this autoimmune inflammatory disorder that I swear was just invented for the C virus, saying that it caused it. I had never heard of it before. And I've certainly never heard of head trauma causing autoimmune inflammatory disorder. Now, I've heard of it lately in recent years. They're saying it can cause just basic brain damage, but not like a systemic inflammatory disorder. But apparently now it can, and they're saying it did for Elvis, and they're calling it post-concussion syndrome. And it causes memory loss and irrational behavior, but also inflammation throughout the body. So now the kind of storyline for Elvis is more like he had all these health problems, and that's what caused him to get taking drugs and stuff. It's more of a sad story than it used to be, very much. He had a drug problem, paid off doctors. That was the old story, but see, now it's all these health problems and... He also boasted he could hypnotize women and crowd with his psychic powers. I've never heard that, but, you know, I mean, I guess he's got, like, thousands of screaming women fainting at his feet. I mean, you could argue that he did just that. I have heard multiple people say the exact same random phrase to me, strangers, like one entity was trying to communicate through each body. It was straight up body snatcher status. Yeah, see, there's an argument for the NPC thing then, because if they're all kind of run by the Matrix or whatever, then it would be no problem. Elvis shoots his TV screen over Priscilla in the Kurt Russell version of his life. Yeah, but did he hire a hitman in that version? How do you think they're going to get the population down by 90% by the year 2030? Well, they could just magically disappear, Mandela style. I think there's 2 things that could happen here. I think there's 2 main things: can get better, or they could get worse. And there's definitely room for either. But I do think it's really, I've cautioned against assuming the worst because thoughts have power, beliefs have power, emotions have power. So you can see how stuff's lining up and it could go bad, but that doesn't mean it will. And I've talked to a lot of people lately who have had events in their life that are basically seem to be kind of telling them that, look, no matter how bad stuff can looks, it doesn't necessarily have to go that way. Just events where everything was completely against you and you look totally screwed, and then they all magically got better. So I do caution against assuming the worst, even when it looks like that's how it could go. Look at like any movie. I think we're living in a movie now, and it's classic movie that there is a point in the movie when the protagonist looks completely like dead meat, like everything is against them, and then somehow they get out of it. So I think we all need to leave room for that happening in our minds, that there's a way out, that things can get better. Never seen Elvis with a gun. Yeah, I know. I was surprised. So as much as we've seen it go bad, that doesn't mean it can't all reverse, is my point. It's not all bad. I mean, I see a lot of stuff online that looks horrible in the news, but my life, if you look around, if you go outside, there's no C virus, unless you see someone with a mask, but you don't see any, there's no dead people in the streets. Um, I still have my job, I have my house, blah, blah. Not everybody has that. But the point is that you're still, as bad as it all looks, I look at my own individual life and it's fine. So just consider about that. There, somehow the economy is still clacking along. There's still jobs. There's still food in the grocery store. Certainly there are challenges. I'm not saying they're not, but the women faked it. Well, I don't know. I never was the type to get that excited that I fainted, but I mean, like, it's a pretty well-known phenomena for famous people at concerts. So I don't know. Maybe we'll hit a timeline where they all faked it. I don't know, but it's like we share the space with something else that pretends to be an alien invasion. I don't know, maybe it was always that way and we just didn't really realize it and it's all coming out now. Hell is pouring into this place, but we're not full of it yet. Yeah, I think there's going to be a limit, though, on how bad it gets. It's going to look bad on TV, and I think it'll mostly be on TV. So try not to freak out about TV. And then it's going to, because it's going to be mostly on TV, I think it'll be very easy to later go, oh, wait, it wasn't that bad. It's really reminded me a lot of Y2K. Like every day, on Y2K, every day before Y2K, there was all these experts saying how it was all going to be horrible and there were going to all these problems, and it never happened. And then they're like, haha, you guys are stupid, like we're stupid for getting all worked up over nothing. But it was the news that did that. They had all these experts, day after day, how we're not ready, and predicting disaster. It wasn't us that got all worked up by ourselves. It was the news that whipped everybody into a frenzy. And then later, it's like, ha ha, you guys are silly. Like, F you. You news, you people were the ones that did all that. So it could just as easily happen again where they're, oh, well, you guys are all worried over nothing. His name spelled wrong on the grave. Really? Is Elvis's name spelled wrong on his grave? I've never heard of that. Elvis name spelled wrong on grave. The king's middle name was in honor of his father's friend Aaron with two A's, Kennedy, but the Presleys used the Aaron with one A spelling to match the name of Elvis's stillborn identical twin brother, Jesse Garon Presley. Even so, Aaron is the spelling of the Graceland gravesite. I've never even heard that he had an identical twin stillborn brother. That's actually new for me as well. So okay. I don't know what to say now. It's just like, what? This is like a bad soap opera. I'm sorry. This really is. It's like, yeah, but his identical twin brother. I don't know. It just, at some point, you just have to laugh. Okay. All right. I think I only got 2 left. It's going to be a new record of under 2 hours if this keeps up. So I heard about this one maybe like a year or 2 ago, but it is a little suspicious. I'm just checking all my, just making sure I didn't miss anybody for credits. I don't think so. People, do you remember the Gorbachev Pizza Hut commercial? I think I just saw this like a year or 2 ago. Gorbachev's Pizza Hut ad is his most bizarre legacy. So the story is that, like, I guess after Gorbachev wasn't in power anymore and he needed money, so he did this commercial with this kid. I don't know if I can play the commercial without getting a copyright or not. You would think that they would be fine with a commercial, but you never know. So in the commercial, he is eating pizza with a kid, and they're at a Pizza Hut, and some other people start arguing over the legacy of Gorbachev. They're like, well, because of him we have freedom, and the guy goes, no, because of him we have blah blah problems. And then finally somebody goes, well, because of him we have Pizza Hut. And they're like, okay, yeah, because of Gorbachev we have Pizza Hut, yay yay. And that's the commercial basically. It just seems kind of bizarre. The twin brother came in this world around 2018. Okay. So Shari doesn't remember before 2018, the twin brother thing. Some of you remember it, though. So Little Itty Bitty Pity Show remembers it. I think I just remember it from like 2 years ago, though. I don't remember it like back then. Never seen Gorbachev doing commercials. I mean, it wasn't the world's worst commercial, but... Can you really tell if newborns are identical twins? That's a good question. Unless they did a DNA test, how are they going to know? That is actually an interesting question. Because they could be fraternal twins. Babies are kind of babies. So what do they just kind of glance at them and make an assumption? U.S. and Western Australia are just starting again with restrictions. Not sure why. Why is Australia starting again? I thought it's your summertime in Australia. So they already predicted for like months that, oh, in the winter there's going to be the dark winter. So it's our winter, right? So I'm not really shocked at all that we have new restrictions. And then, but Australia should be coming out of their winter, so I'm not sure what their problem is. Everybody's talking about the reset. Something's going to happen. And it's probably different timelines where it all ends up, I think, anyway. Be strong and of good courage. This is how we fight this. We let it all go. This is a world is fallen. Um, yeah, I think what we got to do is make sure that I think this may be a test, basically, of how we treat others. We're going to have people who have vastly different opinions than us. Some people are going to totally believe in the control virus, and others, like myself, believe it's baloney. How do we treat each other? Do we vilify and hate each other because we disagree? So just because you think you have the answer, maybe there really is no answer. Um, Maybe it's just how you treat others that really matters, and the energy that you carry with you, if it's full of hatred and blame, or if it's sympathy. People believe in the control virus, have a little sympathy that they believed what was on TV, and maybe they aren't the type of person to be paranoid, and maybe they're innocent people, and so that might be like the main decider about what timeline you go to. Are you going to go to the timeline where everybody hates each other or not? So something to think about. Maybe it really isn't about what you decide for the C virus. Also, I definitely see people who seem to kind of revel in the C virus, like they revel in the control and the finger wagging, and then the like kind of the emo, oh woe is me, I suffered so much because I couldn't go to work and I couldn't go to my concerts, and they almost kind of weirdly, perversely seem to be enjoying it in a weird sort of way. Are you going to be one of those people? Or like then I know people who are very concerned about the C virus. They believe it's real, but they really want it to be gone. And they're not enjoying it, and they're hoping it'll be gone. So maybe they will go to the timeline where it goes away, or wasn't, whatever it is. They're not going to, hopefully they won't go to the timeline where it becomes even more of an issue, where the problems, they want to go to the timeline where it goes away. So what are you really getting out of stuff? Maybe that controls a lot about where you go. Maybe it's not so much about whether you're right or not. It's just your inner self, being mistaken, I don't think will damn you to hell. And interestingly, like my friend, she believes in the C virus very much, but yet she has an instinct not to take the vax, which I think is very interesting. Maybe Elvis and his brother shared the same placenta and amniotic sac, and that's how they realized. Oh, yeah, that could be it, huh? That makes sense. Elvi. We do not want a global blockchain tracking currency. If you speak against the beast, they will turn your chip off. No access to money. The Bible is quite vague on that, and there is a long sentence, especially now, where it says cannot buy and sell unless you have the mark of the beast, the name of the beast, or the number of his name. But then it only cautions that you'll be damned if you get the mark of the beast or worship the beast. It doesn't say you'll be damned if you have the name of the beast or the number of his name. So I think that leaves a loophole. And we need to write in some loopholes into the storyline so that we can get out of it. So the Bible is vague, and there's a lot of ways that it could come to pass beyond the worst case scenario assumptions that are floating around. So I would just suggest that you keep in mind that it doesn't have to be completely horrible for everybody. In fact, the Bible says, do not fear, and that people will be protected, and et cetera, et cetera. So you don't have to assume that it's going to get the worst case. Even if you're a Bible believer, I recommend assuming we know. I think we've already seen that some things we had assumed about how Bible prophecy would come to pass were incorrect. Flooding, mountains moving, et cetera. All that have happened without the disaster we would have expected. So People are dying like flies in Iran. And how do you know this? You know, the thing is, I don't know what's going on in Iran. I don't think anybody really does. But I'll tell you one thing, that they were saying that people were dying like flies in Mexico. And I talked to people in Mexico and they said, no, they're not. So just because it's on the news doesn't mean it's really happening. I mean, I know people who live in Mexico and go back and forth, and they don't know anybody who died. And the hospitals weren't busy and the morgues weren't busy. So it was baloney. Just because it's on the news doesn't mean it's true. Okay, so anyway, one more. And this was what do you guys remember the land to earth ratio on Earth? Like, so there's a certain percentage of Earth surface area that's land, dirt, mountains, etc. And there's another percentage that is ocean, or water. What do you remember that ratio being? Because there's a lot of people who say that they think that there's a different, sizes in the ocean versus land. But I remember a very specific ratio of how much water covered the surface of the earth, and that ratio is not the same anymore. And this one was brought up by Sapioit, Sapioit, commented on this one on the channel. I have many friends and relatives who died lately too. I've gotten two heart attacks, couple cancers, zero COVIDs, zero control viruses. I don't know why there's some kind of thing where everybody who gets a cancel gets like a stage 4 rapid moving cancer. It doesn't seem to be any slow moving cancers anymore. 3/4 is water. Okay, so 75% for you. 1/3 land. Dang. Okay, well, you guys remember current timeline. I remember 90% water. Right now it's 71% water. So 75-25 might be a couple shifts ago, because it's 71-29 right now. For me, it was, no, it was 90% water. It was actually, interestingly, both. It was 90% water for humans, but also for Earth. But we had Arctica back then. Yeah, but the oceans were huge. That's how Australia was way off by itself, because there was plenty of ocean for it to be. I mean, where would you even get Australia to be way off by itself now? It's, let's see. I mean, there's no room to even shunt Australia out that far. All right, so there we are. I guess we could move Australia down a bit, but then it's going to be freezing down by the Antarctica. So for me, I mean, you'd have Australia here, and then you'd have this much water and this much water on both sides of it. It was like way off by itself. And now, I mean, Australia used to be the furthest south, but now you've got the end of South America almost touching Antarctica. That wasn't the case before. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to get Australia down below South America now. There's no way. It's not really the land down under that much anymore. And oh gosh, and on this map, it looks like even like New Zealand would be the land down under more than Australia, because it's, it's further south. So I guess I'm alone in that one, but yeah, I do remember 90% water. Earth was bigger and it had way bigger oceans. Indonesia's creeping lower. I think the oceans are kind of going away. These two are getting closer together. Now, granted, the other side of the ocean, the Earth has a big bunch of open ocean now, but it seems like also Australia or Russia did not used to touch over here at Alaska for me. So yeah, I think basically the oceans are slowly shrinking. I wonder if we'll get more stuff on the other side of the where it's all open ocean over there. I don't want. I wonder what's going to happen with all that. Have you heard our atmosphere is nitrogen because look and violent lightning and rolling thunder? I never heard thunder like that till 2012. Yeah, that's pretty popular Mandela that there's way more nitrogen now. People remember oxygen being way more and carbon dioxide actually being way more and nitrogen being way less. Way less. For me, it was 93% water. Yay, somebody remembers. Game Scion remembers. I kind of believe Earth is flat after many studies. I don't know. I'm kind of like a simulation theory kind of favorite is my favorite. So it wouldn't it would be a moot point if everything is a simulation because it's basically a projection on your consciousness. So it would be like if you were had a virtual reality headset on and it was rendered straight into your head. So it wouldn't really be flat or round. It would just be however it's rendered. And it would probably be rendered in a way that would be aesthetically pleasing. More land popping up lately. Yep. I actually think it would be even less water if it wasn't for all of the lakes and stuff showing up. Ocean's getting smaller, but lakes are getting bigger. I'm a all of the above options are true kind of person. Yeah, I mean if it's a sim, then they're just you can't really say what it is. I mean, like if you go to World of Warcraft and play it, is that a round world or a flat world? It's just however the programmers render it world. Are we at 75% nitrogen now? That's a lot. Let me just see what the oops, spelled it wrong. Wow. 78% nitrogen. I swear there's like more every time I look. 20% oxygen and like 0.0% carbon dioxide. That's so tiny. I should really like try to keep track of this a little better because I swear that was not that much last time I looked. 78%. Why is it lakes don't have a high and low tide? They do have a tide. I'm not sure if it has a high or low. Like the Great Lakes have a tide. Let's see. Changes in water level caused by gravitational forces do occur in semi-diurnal, twice daily pattern on the Great Lakes. Consequently, the Great Lakes are considered to be non-tidal. Water levels in the Great Lakes have long-term, annual, and short-term variations. Why would they call them non-tidal if they have semi-diurnal patterns of levels? That's weird. Okay. Why are there no tides in lakes? They're just saying smaller bodies don't have tides. Because they lack enough liquid to create pressure that can visibly overcome the pull of Earth's gravity. They lack enough liquid to create pressure that can visibly overcome the pull of Earth's gravity. I'm not sure I can really wrap my head around that. If they'd said that the change was so that they lacked enough water to have enough change to visibly be seen, I could see that. But the rest of that doesn't make a lot of sense. There are no tides on the Great Lakes. Here's why. See, up there it did say that there's diurnal level changes. Isn't that a tide? What else is it if it's not a... What would you call it then? With all-time record water levels on Lake Erie, you might hear someone talk about high tide. The Great Lakes don't have tides. Well, they have teeny tiny tides. A difference of a few centimeters on a twice daily cycle, but the change is so inconsequential that scientists consider the freshwater bodies non-tidal. Okay, so they're saying they have tides, but they're only a few centimeters. Yeah. You know, the Mandela is pretty sneaky. It's pretty hard to totally catch it in a logic error. Moon during the day started for me back in the 80s. No, it was definitely the 20, like after the 90s. What do you call it? The aughts. I think it started for me in the aughts. So I had already moved here, and that was it could have been the late 90s, but I think it was, I was already here quite some time, so I think it was the aughts. All right, people. Anyway, that's the last one for me because it's been kind of a slow week. So I'm shoving off. Maybe we're getting ready for some stuff on the December 21st. I don't know. Usually there's some weird stuff around Christmas. We've got the solar eclipse coming up this December 21 conjunction thing. The Great Lakes have major waves. Yeah, they have waves, but not tides. So I don't know. I guess they say it's from the wind or something. I'm trying to think. You know, I was at the Great Lakes only a few times, and they had some small waves, but it wasn't like storming or anything. So it's not really anything I ever studied. Somebody who lives near there could tell me maybe. Nothing in the sky makes sense since 2016. No stars, moon jumping around. Yeah, in the Bible it says like a third of the stars shall fall, and you can't see a third of the stars anymore, at least compared to how I used to see it. And we've got all of these meteor showers, so you kind of have to wonder if this is basically how that Bible prediction came to pass. You see what looks like stars falling, and you can't see them up there anymore. So is that not what it said in the Bible? Anyways, so keep an eye out. We'll see what's going on with this December 21 thing. Try to, be a good person and all that. I think that's all we can really do at this point. Think good thoughts, everybody. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.